Good morning. I'm extremely surprised you're already here. I mean, like early risers. Thank you very much. So I'm an architect. I have an architecture firm out of New York. We have about 50 people at this point, which is a lot of fun. And we do many different projects in many different scales. We're doing big developments. One of our biggest clients actually today is WeWork with the innovative We Live concept, creating a new type of housing that is very socially kind of infused. But we also do kind of cultural projects, we do branding projects, and sometimes we're also touching a little bit into master planning. So at the moment, when the University of Pennsylvania came to us and showed us this building and asked us to turn it into an innovation center, we started to really think about what really innovation means and what a building needs to perform to unleash the creative energy between all the different people. And when you think about innovation, very often we find out that actually it might be something different than you, first of all, expect. For example, Uber. Isn't it all about just limousines driving us around or car driving us around the city very conveniently? No, it's not. Uber is about technology. That's what the innovation is, what the company had to create. Or the whole new world about VR. We may think that this is all about technology. The real innovation actually going to be experience. Because otherwise, why to have technology if experience is not what really makes it work? Or Tesla. You may think it's about cars, but ultimately it's about storage of energy. And architecture can do the same. For example, a sculpture we did some time ago for the Museum of Modern Art, PS1, you think it's about art, but it's actually about cleaning the air. We added titanium nanoparticles to the surface, and whenever it's being hit by the sun, it breaks down pollution. Or our new concepts for We Live. You think it's about apartments, but it's actually about lifestyle. Or a skyscraper we recently designed. You think that's about a big building. It's actually about aging. How we bring people together and let them live all life long for all generations. So now for Pennovation, when we look into what innovation really needs to be, there's something very interesting about Intrapreneurs, and that's this. They sit behind a desk, a computer, in a lab, and they work, and they work, and they work, and they work. But the problem is, you can come up with the best and greatest ideas, but if nobody knows about it, it's kind of useless. Think about it. I may do the greatest designs in architecture, but if I'm not standing here telling you, and you're going to hire me, I'm never going to build one. So what we actually found out, the most important thing that we as architects can add to a building of innovation, it's this: connecting people with each other. And when we started with this very simple building that the university just asked us to renovate, to put in labs and all the kind of different facilities, we told them that this is not enough. What we have to do, we actually have to add instrumental programs that help to connect people. And you see in the middle, we created something, we call it the Pitch Bleacher. That is a constant reminder for all the entrepreneurs to stand in front of other people, to present their ideas, to come up with the ultimate pitch so that they can attract investors, that they can attract collaborators, that they can attract people to join their mission. We also have an entrepreneur bar, a boardroom, a visitor center, all of these things that the university had not thought about. We convinced them actually to add to the building, and then, of course, we architects, we shaped it into a really interesting form. Now you may think that this is like, oh, this is very formal, this is why do we do this? But there's also a magic to a form that becomes the identity of a building. Because what we are generating here is PR value for the building and PR value for the entrepreneurs. A couple of years ago, we did an event space for Mini Cooper, where we just put a little hill on top of a roof in Manhattan, and it cost $3 million, the whole event and the architecture that was there for 10 days. And Mini made an analysis of all the value the PR gained, and it was more than 3 million, just by being in the news. So that might not directly translate into a university building, but there is a great value about creating a building that touches emotions and that generates PR value, though it is very important for us that there is, of course, really an in-depth need and necessity behind it, so that a building can really kind of unfold all of its powers that is there for the people inside of it, and of course also for the expression to the world around it. And in the inside now, and these are visualizations, how we see the building in 30 years from now, so it already aged a little bit and it's kind of totally engaged with the activities of the people inside. It's there for the Pitch Bleacher, so that these constant presentations can happen at any given time, and that it can become really the cradle of innovation for the university and the people. And you see here, this might be a little bit too rough and too raw for you, but we also know that for innovators, they need ultimative freedom to do whatever they need to do to come up with the right ideas. So I actually convinced the university that we need to allow people who rent a studio or rent a lab to drill through the walls. If they need a new pipe, a new duct, whatever they need, architecture needs to be so flexible because you cannot preconceive what the future may need. So what we resulted in, it's on the first floor, a very simple organization. It's almost like a donut, where you have a circulation around at the center core with the access core, which is partially social with cafe, with a presentation space in the middle, what you see here with a bleacher lounge, and also a gallery. All of that is public space where people can just engage with the activities of the building and the people on the outside and the inside. And then we convinced the university to add something that is really fun and playful. It takes kind of clue from the legacy of some of the great companies like HP, that we added the Intrapreneurs garages in the middle of it. This big door can open up, drive in with a truck, and have fun and come up with the ideas that you want and that you need. On the second floor, the same organization. And now we have dry labs and wet labs all around. And here's our Pitch Bleacher that really is kind of the end point of that whole collaborative workspace. And the top floor, already now rented out by Dr. Kumar and his team of robotic entrepreneurs, with the center, an experimental lab where they can fly the little robots all the way around, and also shared workshop spaces. And with this kind of vision to actually create connection between people, we also knew that we have to change a little bit the configuration of today's lab system. So today what you do, you actually combine a lab with the shared equipments, the labs, and the offices. And what we decided to do is to segregate them so that there's always a distance between all of these different programs, so that people run into each other and have to start to talk to each other and create that kind of valuable connection where maybe a bioengineer meets a software coder and they come up with something new. The beauty of this diagram is actually that today you pay maybe $1,000 per square foot for a full-fledged lab. But an office space costs so much less. We can do that for $200 or maybe even just $100 per square foot. So with actually segregating these different programs that normally are altogether $1,000 per square foot, now the real hardcore lab is $1,000, this one is maybe $500, and this is $100. So we were able, actually, by segregating these different programs, to come up also with an efficiency, a financial efficiency that helped us to probably afford also our spectacular facade on the north side. And so all of these kind of elements are adding up to an ensemble of a building where this kind of hybrid programming is really key to create that kind of vibrancy within the whole volume. But we also made sure that we actually create outside space, because it is not just about the building and the energy that it can afford within. It is also very important to really expand out and use the public realm. Here we're working with Land Collective, a wonderful landscape architecture firm out of Philadelphia, to create equal, like in the inside, a space that is inviting and collaborative and open. And it translates into the whole organization of the campus that we are creating, so that almost the same dimension of the building's footprint is repeated on the outside floor, so that here when you arrive, you have a big public plaza engaging already with our Pennovation Center, framed with landscape, and this is an outdoor lab from Dr. Kumar for his flying drones. And you see that as more we move out, we see how the building actually unfolds its kind of presence into the context. And we made sure that some of these kind of geometries that were established in the building continue actually towards the outside world, but also making sure that actually all the kind of access and the circulation here always gets a view towards the building that also through its identity really unfolds its value in this kind of context. The other trick that David Rudin developed with the university is this idea of future expansion. So you see that we used actually existing parking lots, cut through them with some of the landscaping, but there's a very careful calibration that he did in terms of long-lasting trees and plants and short-term vegetation. Because we also wanted to make sure that the whole campus is ready for the future expansion, so that when new investors, when new programs are being brought to the university, there's always that kind of flexibility that we can add more volumes to it, but not disrupt the overall landscape strategy that was already established. And all of that, you see here now the new campus that is connected with circulations towards the main university from the University of Pennsylvania, making sure that also, of course, in terms of infrastructure, it all tied together. And signage, strongly developed with Bruce Mao, because it's also about communicating the new campus in its own rights, that goes into the logos and also, of course, into a big billboard that now gonna support the building also with the new message of the Pennovation Center, making clear to everyone what's happening in this context. So now, and keeping in mind that actually the value of such an intervention is actually real-time dollars. We found out that actually a regular billboard anywhere in Philadelphia is about $10,000 to $20,000 per month of rent. So when a building can do that on its own, that is a very clear value that we can actually also measure. So now I would just show you a couple of images now of the construction. The building is 3 months out for completion. This is here the north facade already with all the steel being fabricated and put into place. And in the inside, you also see some of the clues where we as architects had to be extremely disciplined because the budget was very, very low. But we wanted to, of course, create a very special place. So here you see already an indication that we actually used all the kind of infrastructure that you have to pay for anyway as an architectural element. So we actually supersized that big duct. I still remember the university architect didn't believe when I said, like, can we make it bigger and bigger? Because that becomes actually our guiding principle through the building. We're going to add lighting systems that we need anyway as part of that kind of design element. And we also made sure that actually all the value that is already part of the building, like the columns, the steel, the structure, it's not hidden. It's expressed because that is something we already found in the building itself, and we didn't have to establish it. And it's really beautiful to actually derive out of already existing infrastructure and building elements. And this is the Pitch Bleacher that's jetting out into the sky. And this is where we really believe that the future will be created. And though I would love to take all the credit for this project, but I have to admit there's something absolutely magical that had happened between us and the university. We turned our client into a true partner. And the way we did it was, first of all, we assembled an amazing team of collaborators that joined forces with us, all surrounding the team of the university. What we also did, this is a picture of our first meeting. We got everyone into one room, and we put out 10 different ideas about how the building can be changed and turned into an innovation center. And we gave everyone a little dot, and we said, like, look, we're not going to tell you what this is all about. Just walk around with your dot and glue it at the one you like the most. And everyone was like, oh, I don't know. You haven't told me anything. And we said, like, look, this is about your emotional connection to what you think is best for the university, because you know better than we do. So here is actually the university architect giving us comments and reflecting on some of our designs. Very passionate, with, of course, a lot of detailed knowledge that we immediately were able to harvest at already the first meeting with the university. And these dots accumulated at all of these different schemes. And you see that here already with photovoltaic, the idea of sustainability, some of the reuse of some of the parts of the facades, we very quickly were able to learn what was really in the mind of all the 25 people that were sitting in the room, which normally it's impossible to get them all unified in one direction and one idea. And here the cutest thing is actually at the very, very last moment, like one of the schemes got all the dots that was almost unexpected, because that was a scheme we thought they will never ever choose, because it's just so far out there and everyone gonna get scared. But as you have seen, this is actually what we are about to turn into reality, and that is, I believe, the power of innovation, where you create collaborations with your client and with all the team members to pull on the same string, and that is what we all did. Thank you.
I think we have time for a couple of questions.
Cool. Questions? Yes? Yeah, the original building was from DuPont. That was a paint experiment space where they had also labs in it. It was abandoned, I think, for about 8 years. And I think it was built in the 60s or late 60s. Cool. Any other questions? Yeah?
What other types of tenants do you have for the building?
Yes, so they're going to be a whole mix of tenants. That's actually the idea. We have 30% of wet labs, 30% of dry labs, co-work areas. The first tenant is actually robotics from Dr. Kumar. He's taking one floor. The beauty of him is that he's actually sharing a lot of equipment to the building. So we think that there are going to be actually a lot of engineering also coming in. Mm-hmm.
Matthias over here.
Yep.
You had a lot of staff in that room of 25. Did you have students engage with you on the design?
We presented to the students, but at the very core meetings, that was university staff. And then we've tried to fill it up with all of our office staff just to compensate a little bit. Oh, that's a good question. Let me get back to it. I think it's actually, yeah, when I go through, $500. Yeah. But this is also, these are full-fledged wet labs. This is where a lot of money went. Mm. Yeah. Cool, additional questions? And the 500, I probably have to go a little bit lower, but that was just going through square footages quickly. Awesome. I think we're going to have an amazing next... Oh, one more question, and then the next amazing presentation.
Who was the builder on that project?
Hunter Roberts. It's a GC, and we worked actually with them very interactively. It's actually a really, really complicated building. The facade turned out to be actually quite some engineering. But the beauty was, what we really realized, since everyone made that decision so early on, there was a really strong buy-in, so that we worked hand in hand with the university. We went through many, many VE moments, but the university helped us to actually maintain the things that we all felt most passionate about. And Hunter Roberts was very interactive, helping us on that. CM. Yeah.
So 3 months left in construction. They'll occupy. How are you going to measure success of your design?
Yeah. Well, ultimately, I think the success is when an amazing innovation comes out of this building. When there's something that will change our world for the better, has its origin in here. That's my measurement. For the university, of course, it's going to be image making and occupancy numbers. Because that is also an experiment about a financial strategy. For them, this is a commercial development. It's the tenants actually going to pay for their seat. Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Matthias. Excellent presentation and beautiful building.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, man.
Awesome. Thanks.
Okay.